following is an excerpt from rhythm violence game Thumper, released for PlayStation 4 in 2016, Nintendo Switch in 2017, and iOS in 2018. The game programmer is Mark Fleury, who realized artist Brian Gibson's composition and concept art. I'm using a performance by YouTuber Humans Are Dumb, a full S-Rank playthrough recorded in July 2017. The player-performer guides the beetle at the center of the screen along a track filled with light-up notes, made of obstacles, curved walls, and spikes, which are placed along the track to complement the rhythmic profile of the level. The game uses procedural programming, meaning that if the beetle misses more than 2 notes, the game will require the player to repeat the segment until they have beaten the level. This is level 9-10, and in Thumper, each level corresponds to the music's meter, meaning that all of level 9 is set in 9-8. I chose this performance because the player-performer sustains damage in this run-through, allowing us to see how this disruption is both visual and auditory. Though the notes spatially suggest a meter, it is almost impossible to read the notes as a kind of notation. The player must rely on a process of visually identifying what kind of note, which then tells them which direction to move, and then aurally placing it within the correct location in the meter. Alignment between the notes and the underlying meter of the music is brought to the foreground when the player misses a note. The spikes and curved walls appear aurally and visually at the same time. The player hears and sees their appearance on the track and then repeats the rhythm as the beetle passes through that section. I read this as formal congruence, especially as the synchronization is bolstered by an immediate repetition delivered by the player. The other obstacles, like those that require jumps, have a kind of reactive effect. The player hears their presence in the soundtrack at the same time as they pass over them, while the immediate visual area lights up with blue and white debris to signify correctness. Not only does the debris show the player that they've successfully navigated part of the track, it contrasts the red and black background artwork and highlights the position of the beetle. This strikes me more as semantic congruence that tests the player's ability to metrically locate the action required by the notation and correctly press the right direction. I believe this demonstrates the difficulty of trying to read the notes as a form of notation independently of the musical events that occur at the same time as or in anticipation of action from the player. The hues of the track and its surroundings can complicate the player's ability to see a rhythmic object, meaning that the player must rely on their ears to figure out when to move. The lines make it really hard to see, even though the game's extremely fast scrolling speed and third-person point of view actually encourage a wider field of vision. There is clear semantic congruence here. The artwork looks like it's been set in hell, and, affectively speaking, the game can be quite anxiety-inducing due to its speed and emphasis on rote learning of patterns at an incredibly fast pace. There is a clear connection to Shinichiro Iwamiya's research on audiovisual congruence and incongruence here. In Thumper, it is clear that the audio and visual have a co-constitutive relationship. The apparent incongruences, a disruption in the track, affirm the audio-visual congruence. There is a clear family resemblance between the red lines of the background artwork and a red curved wall that requires players to react quickly to what they see and what they hear. As Iwamiya points out, the speed of the music affects our visual perception of object speed. By relying on what they hear, the player is able to navigate past a curved wall that is more difficult to see than hear. In conclusion, Thumper presents a complicated task to its players through rich use of formal audio-visual congruence as well as moments of semantic congruence. Drawing on Brett Batty's use of spatial metaphors to describe music in terms of its agreement, disagreement, consonance, dissonance, and fusion independence, I argue that such moments of disagreement encourage the player to react in the moment in the role of a listener-analyst. The procedural rhetoric of Thumper keep moving and don't look back, requires fast reflexes as informed by deliberately reflective musical thought. Thank you.